But it all starts with the offensive line. David had asked about, basically had made the statement, how we see the offensive line past the starters. He's comfortable with the starters, not so comfortable with the complete rotation.
Join the club. I think Ohio State's and the coaches are in your same boat. Right now, the six guys, probably Enoch Vamahi, Josh Fryer would be in that consideration as well, except he's out for the spring. So behind that top six, good luck. You guys can throw some guesses out, but Jacob James has been in there. They want to see some of these young guys. Zen Mahalski, Kevin Wilson talked about him like the first time he spoke with reporters this spring, but I haven't seen necessarily much from him. And you've got Ben Crispin, you've got Trey LaRue, all of these guys that they brought in over the last few years that need to start stepping up. And right now, the depth at offensive line, I think, for me, is a huge concern past that seventh guy. I expect Josh Fryer to be that seventh guy, and they'll be fine. And they've got a versatile group that can – Enoch Vamahi and Josh Fryer have both played guard and tackle. So basically, anybody who gets hurt in that top five in that starting group, if somebody were to get hurt, they have pieces that can move. Say Luke Whippler gets hurt, Matt Jones just slides to center, and he's the number 2 guy there. And they've got versatility. Paris Johnson, we know, can play guard if need be. Donovan Jackson can play tackle if need be. He's the number 2 left tackle at this point, even though he's your starting left guard. Kind of gives you an idea of the lack of depth right now for the Buckeyes.
Yeah, you mentioned Mikowski. He's in Machowski, or however it's pronounced. He was another one of those guys who missed the practice on Saturday, because in my chat on Monday, I was asked specifically about Crispin, LaRue, and Machowski, and none of the 3 of them, from my understanding, were out there. I published my 2 deep. Really was a 3 deep based on what I saw. And if you guys want to vamp for a moment, I'll see if I can dig that up and share what I saw. But
Tony tried.
Vamp, Kevin.
Actually, I found it. It was the left tackle is Paris Johnson. The left guard's Donovan Jackson. Luke Whippler at center. Matthew Jones right guard, and DeJuan Jones at right tackle. The backup left tackle was George Fitzpatrick, a true freshman, which is very telling, obviously, with what I think that would be Fryer, the guy that Tony referenced, who's out this spring with an injury. But good to see George Fitzpatrick at least getting quality reps. Donovan Jackson has also moved outside and rep some at left tackle. Toby Wilson, the son of Kevin Wilson, is kind of a backup center, but also a backup at left guard. Jacob James was next up at center. Enoch Vamahi was next up at right guard. And Grant Toutant was next at right tackle. And that's it. Those were all of the scholarship players, and Wilson's not even a scholarship player to my knowledge at this point. Those were all the available scholarship players. So when you take Harry Miller out of that mix, as they did, he was counted on to either be a starter or provide a modicum of depth. Some of that's gone now. So they've got a lot of development on their hands with Toutant, Vamahi, although he's a little bit of a veteran but has not played much, Jacob James, George Fitzpatrick, and then the 3 guys we were talking about with Machowski, LaRue, and whoever the other guy is that I'm airmailing right now. But those 6 or 7 remaining scholarship players need to provide that depth along with Fryer once he's healthy.
There were too many misses in offensive line recruiting through the years, and now you have a new offensive line coach. And that's not, I'm not taking anything individually and saying, oh, this guy's no good and that guy's no good. That's not how I roll. I'm not going to do that, but they certainly were not landing their first choices at a lot of the positions. And you now have a lot of guys that are going to have to kind of put up or shut up that, were 2 and 3 year projects. Well, guess what? That note is due now. They're in their second and third years, and they're going to need that depth. I mean, Ohio State's going to have one of the best offensive lines out there in terms of 1 through 5, 1 through 6. You generally are not having to get too much deeper than that, but you never know. So, one of the big benefits they had last year is they had just a ton of depth. Well, you lose that ton of depth with 2 guys off to the draft and 1 guy medically retiring and everything that you have there, and even some other other departures. So it's they're going to need a lot in terms of that development. It'll be interesting to see what Justin Fry is able to do in year 1, and if 1, 2, 3 of these guys are going to be able to have that light bulb go off and prove to be somebody who is Big Ten caliber ready. And then they're just going to have to do a much better job in terms of recruiting, because you look at the class that's coming in. Sure, you got George Fitzpatrick, you've got Carson Hiddensman, you've got Tegra Shabola, you got Avery Henry out of St. Henry, or Avery Henry out of St. Clairsville.
Yeah.
Space there for a second. He's a project. He's going to be a project. He may be somebody in 2 years that we're raving about, and he's the next DeJuan Jones in terms of we weren't sure what to expect there, but he's doing all this, but you don't know. They're going to have to do a lot better when you sit there and you let somebody like Blake Miller escape the state of Ohio and go to Clemson on the heels of letting Jackson Carman and some other guys escape and do the same thing. You get what you get.